And here's the BP Ultimate Grid for race 2 of the BNT V8s here at the Hampstead 200. And pole position, Mr. Beard and Tim Edgell. He's been the breakthrough driver so far this weekend, although the conditions have certainly changed things around plenty. Dale Williams and Eddie Bell on row 2.
Paul Manuel, John Hepburn. There's a bit of a story there with Paul Manuel as well, starting from 5th. John Penny, Andy Knight make up the 4th row.
And moving back, still some names that are further up than we might have expected after all the carnage. Simon Richards and John Whelan on row 6.
Nick Ross, Andrew Anderson, those two guys, and the two Commodores sitting there. Kane Scott, Angus Fogg. Now, obviously more stories. These guys didn't make it up through the field as much as we thought. The pole sitter, Angus Fogg too.
Starting to look like a bit of a reverse grid race. There we see Andy Booth and Chris Pither and Christina Orr as we round out the grid for race 2. And John McIntyre, well, he's a story in himself, and Clark Proctor, Mr. Heartbreak Kid. There's been a lot of work to do, including for Angus Fogg's team in between the races, because there was damage through half of the field. I mean, Johnny McIntyre took out 5 or 6 cars alone. So, you know, every team's had a lot of work to do in between these races.
I don't know if he'd like to be blamed for taking out half the field there, Sean, but certainly that corner onto the front straight at the end, coming towards the end of that first lap, did claim a fair few cars. Clark Proctor, as I said, very humble in defeat on this in this situation. He said he was a bit concerned about the situation, thought he might end up in this position, being that he hadn't crossed that line. So even though he did cross the line first, relegated to the back, and here we go, race 2 about to get underway. Craig Beard on pole, the throttles go down. Dale Williams a good start. Edgell, he's going to pull him behind Beard. Oh, Andy Knight goes round. Cars everywhere. There's Johnny Mack in the background starting the race from pit lane. Hayden McKenzie lost a lot of spots.
I thought it was Johnny Mack. I think that one was Hayden McKenzie.
It was Hayden McKenzie off the road, and car with Kane Scott. Everyone's got away. Andy Knight, unfortunately, looks like he was lost a lot of ground being turned around there at the start. Well, I think he was. The car on the grass. Eddie Bell looks racy, wanting to get through, and a great result for him in race 1.
Right behind him, the local hope, John Hepburn. He's come well out of that first race. Maybe local knowledge of the weather conditions might have helped. On board there with Angus Fogg, behind him Chris Pither. Another one of the cars that was tied up in that wreck that Johnny Mack was involved.
There you go, exactly right. Craig Beard got a little gap over Tim Edgell. First lap down. Dale Williams still holding down 3rd in the Ray Glass Boats car.
But there was a bit of talk between the Beard tent and the Edgell tent before the start of actually the first race, and they said, look, let's just get through the first corner cleanly, and then we'll start taking the battle to each other. And you can't help but think they're working together, because a lot can unfold until one of those guys challenge each other, which we see in the mid-pack.
Yeah, there was a big squeeze mid-pack going through 1-2, wasn't there?
Which you tend, I mean, this obviously this circuit, turn 1, 2, 3 at the start of a race, whenever it is packed up, can be a bit of a gridlock, and it's very narrow down there. There's not a lot of room. You see a lot of cars taking to the dirt when they get squeezed wide, and difficult place to get through nice and clean. Darren Henderson there in the Radio Sport car.
Guys,
had a good first race.
Johnny McIntyre, we can't see him in the picture. We would have expected him to be on the back of this group, because he did start from pit lane, but the monitor shows he's some 43 seconds behind this battle.
So a bit of a rush job, obviously, to get prepared, get in that car and get comfortable. It may not have been quite where they needed to be to just jump straight in and put it on the track. So struggling. There he is there on the infield. He stalled. Obviously got a problem, serious problem there in that car. As it's down at turn 3 as Beard and Edgell go through with a huge gap over Dale Williams.
Mark, this car does duty as a hot lap car. I guess it's used for a bit of sideways fun. How much work would they have to do to get it race ready?
Well, I saw the team work. They were working frantically in the break we had. They were changing everything, brakes, carburation, the whole lot, something that suits Johnny McIntyre, the seating position. So although it's a car that they can compete at any time, there's so many intimate changes the team wanted to make to complement Johnny's driving style. It just hasn't worked. You can't help but think that might be a carburation issue, because they took the original one off and tried to put their own on.
Yeah, a lot of things to change, and obviously the maintenance side of things is not as thorough as what it is with these guys. And this is where I suppose that you can say that the 3-race format on the one weekend is has caused Johnny Mack to come a little bit unstuck here. But a tough day at the office for him, and you know, the championship, well, she's well alive.
Well, you can't knock their optimism thinking they can grab a hot lap car in between races and turn it into a race car. And if you've just joined us, your eyes don't deceive you. You will see two cars that look an awful lot alike. One is number 20, the other is number 20 as well, /47. That's Johnny McIntyre's car. Massive crash in race 1, and he's trying to get back. Now that is Hayden McKenzie there.
And Johnny Mack's parked on the inside is Angus Fogg, who was on pole for the first race today, and he's trying to fight his way back through the field after race 1.
Guys, I know I've said it before, but this is such a unique circuit. It's such a short straight, it's such a technical circuit in terms of corners that you can be a second slower, but you can defend that position. And that's why we're not seeing the big inroads, and that's why the reverse grid race is so exciting, because you have to make the passing move.
And these big, I mean, these cars are big. They're big cars on quite a narrow circuit. Good fun to drive this circuit, but very, very difficult when you've got a big beast of a car like this covering half the circuit.
We're just on board there with Angus Fogg, and I don't know if my eyes deceiving me. It looked like there was something blue hanging out his driver's window. Or is that his mirror hanging off or something? Yeah,
look, at just that rubbing on the front, the mirror's broken away. Part of racing.
Now we can see the difference here, obviously, between the wet and the dry. Some of these guys that were very, very fast in the wet, struggling a little bit in the dry with the setups that they've got in the cars. Dale Williams still in 3rd position, but the gap, Edgell to Williams, 6.3 seconds.
Yeah, Williams just wants it to rain and rain and rain.
That's right.
That's where he shines.
Kate Scott to the left, to the right, all over the back of Andrew Anderson, who's driving reasonably defensively. And as you said, Mark, you know, you can drive a little bit defensively. As Kate Scott gets a great run, crossed over from the right-hand side. Andrew Anderson down a bit narrow. And Scott moves up a spot. He's only got a small amount of space here to catch up to the back of Nick Ross. And the battle is very thick in that part of the train at the moment. Good move by Eddie Bell. He's trying to recover it. Williams has come back at him too. This is far from over. He's going to try the outside line, a tough one to do, and he's lost some ground. He's going to have to slot back in behind Dale Williams again and look for another way past.
Done the crossover. It's going to be a drag race.
There's an overlap.
Eddie Bell will not concede. He'll just stay
on
there.
On the grass with the overlap. Bell should have it this time around. Great piece of driving. Superb racing.
Eddie Bell, the big star of round 1 at Pukekohe. He slipped off since, but yes, he's found some form again. Oh, big move. Independent Fisheries Falcon.
Now, we haven't seen it, but Tim Edgell must have had a bit of a moment on the last lap. He lost 3 seconds to Craig Beard after only being within a second. The two cars are now separated by 3 seconds. So something happened that we haven't seen, but there's Tim Edgell all by himself. Look at the gap back to 3rd position. Eddie Bell unleashed himself, and he's starting to move forward.
Guys, another couple of cars that have a very competitive showing is John Hepburn and Darren Henderson inside the top 10. It's a really good result.
Absolutely. Hendo finishing 9th in the wet. He would have been very, very happy with that, and showing some really good speed here. Oh, you can't do that.
You can't do that, boys.
Scott and Richards tangle. They both make it back on, but that was messy.
Interesting, Kane Scott's car is now smoking. Probably a little bit of guard on tyre damage.
Oh, listen, Kane Scott had a good overlap on Simon Richards there, who moved over on him, and that is completely not on the rules.
Here's the replay.
Yeah. You know, once someone gets an overlap, you've got to concede, you've got to give them room, and this clearly Simon Richards made a mistake coming off the corner. Scotty got an overlap, and that is not the way to do it.
That's more than defending the line, isn't it? How far off can you go?
I can imagine there'll be some steam coming out of the Fujitsu Falcon at the moment from under the driver's helmet.
Looking at the timing monitor, you're right. It looks like that Timmy Edgell was just a one-off mistake, because he's now circulating actually quicker than Craig Beard at the fastest lap of the race.
Good work, Tim Edgell and Kane Scott. He just can't get it right so far this season. The champ's still to win a race. Blew the axle before the top 10 shootout yesterday, and nothing at all is going his way so far.
Now the officials just heard through the race channel that there is a bit of an investigation going to happen between Knight, Andrew Knight, and on the grass again. These boys aren't learning in a hurry.
No, they're not, are they? Nothing at all.
Andy Knight, John Penny, and Mr. Henderson are over the turn 1 scenario, which ended with Andy Knight facing the wrong direction. So we'll have to wait and see what comes of that.
The thing is that I can't understand is these guys need to learn respect, because the infield is wet, and if one of those cars gets a few more degrees sideways, it is just going to take off, and it is going to be catastrophic.
And we know that the earth-filled tyres that surround the circuit are not forgiving at all, are they, Mark?
No, they're not. No, once you go in, and we seen that before, the car said it's like hitting concrete. They bounce off. It will get ugly.
Well, we've just heard also through the race channel that Simon Richardson has been given the bad sportsmanship flag for that moving over on Kane Scott, which has cost them both a lot of positions. And yeah, that's not the kind of stuff you want to be doing out there.
So your top 10 as we get into the last couple of laps: Craig Baird from Tim Edgell, Eddie Bell, Dale Williams holding position in 4, John Hepburn, the local driver, Paul Manuel in 6, Darren Henderson, Nick Ross, Angus Fogg, and Andrew Anderson is currently 10th.
The big move up from, a shocking start to the weekend as far as the racing goes. Qualified and pole, here he is on TV right now in the LG Falcon. Angus Fogg moved up to 9th position, which is a great result. Ross covering very aggressively. There's some questionable driving going on out there, if you ask me. Some of these manoeuvres these guys are doing, they're very desperate. Couple laps to go, not wanting to give away any positions. And some interesting lines being taken, which slows you down dramatically too, doesn't it, Mark?
It does, but they got the advantage because they may be holding everybody up. They apply the throttle first, and of course that's why you always see that air jump. But the frustration of all these guys, we're going through the roof, and we may start seeing some desperate manoeuvres so these guys can get up further up the field.
Well, it's all about Baird and Edgell out front, though. They are just totally in control, but Edgell still the fastest fella on the track.
Yeah, super impressive. Can't stop talking about the performance of this young guy. Been in motorsport, the family, for a long, long time. Again, some very narrow lines down the back straight. In car here.
Will he do the crossover?
Foggy.
Got a run on him?
Has he got the overlap this time? No, he still hasn't. Nick Ross is slowing his car down the middle of that corner to a point where it negates that manoeuvre that Foggy is trying to pull off. We're down to the second to last lap, so not a lot of time left in this one. Kane Scott's managed to move up to 11th and has found a few positions. Actually, I think he might have got ahead of Andrew Anderson, so he's moved into 10th.
Andy Booth was down to 15th. He's back up to 12th. So a few wee moves happening there, but as we said earlier, it's just no one is in the same ballpark as Baird and Edgell so far. The question is, though, can Nick Ross hold off Angus Fogg?
Kane Scott now attacking the back of Fogg. He's been all over the back of Nick Ross, which has compromised him a little bit. He'll realise who's behind him. He won't be able to give Kane Scott any opportunity whatsoever as he pulls down the inside this time.
This was actually the break that Nick Ross was looking for, because of course he's been defensive.
It's taken the pressure off.
It has, yeah, because Angus has got to be defensive against Kane. Look at the run he's got on the inside here. Nothing coming of it.
No, as he covers. Short run there between turns 4 and 5. Scott still looking out the inside. This is the last lap. Craig Baird and Tim Edgell. There he is, Craig Baird.
Totally in control. Craig Baird wraps up race 2, his second win of the weekend. He rediscovered his mojo in the Porsche yesterday. He's done it in the V8s for the second time today. He finishes ahead of Tim Edgell. Great drive from him. And Eddie Bell, the star of round 1, back on the podium. Ahead of Dale Williams, John Hepburn, Paul Manuel, Darren Henderson, Nick Ross, Angus Fogg in 9th, and Kane Scott rounding out the top 10 ahead of Andy Booth. Yeah, great effort from Craig Baird. He's in control of this championship now, like he is in the Porsches. Tim Edgell, awesome result from him. And Eddie Bell, Dale Williams. It wasn't wet, but it didn't matter. He held on to 4th place ahead of John Hepburn, Timaru driver, Angus Fogg, and Kane Scott rounding out the top 10.